Grace and peace to you. Welcome to Morning Watch. I'm Rob, one of the pastors here at White Plains. Glad to have you with us today on a Friday. This is where we gather for a song and a thought for the day. So glad you're with us. Whenever you're watching, thanks for being here, tuning in, making that cup of coffee. Let's begin our time together by going to God in prayer. Lord, I watch this morning for the light that the darkness has not overcome. I watch for the fire that was in the beginning and that burns still in the brilliance of the rising sun. And I watch for the glow of life that gleams in the growing earth and glistens in sea and sky. I watch for your light, O God, in the eyes of every living creature and in the ever-living flame of my own soul. If the grace of seeing were mine this day, I would glimpse you in all that lives. O Lord, grant me the grace of seeing this day. Grant me the grace of seeing. Amen and amen. Well, according to the reading today, I should probably be doing God of Wonders. But instead, I'm going to take the easy way out and do a song from the big old songbook. Right below Let Your Love Flow is Put a Little Love in Your Heart. And that's a great song. Jimmy Holiday, Randy Myers, and Jackie DeShannon. There you go. I'm sure some folks were singing along with that. I like to do that one at beer and hymns sometimes. So, as I mentioned, though, if you can think of God of Wonders beyond our galaxy, that actually might have been a more appropriate song for today. So you can put that one on yourselves. Because today's reading from our little book of This I Believe essays is called The Power of Mysteries. The Power of Mysteries. And it's by Alan Lightman. And he writes, I believe in the power of the unknown. I believe that a sense of the unknown propels us all of our daily creative activities, from science to art. When I was a child, after bedtime, I would often get out of my bed in my pajamas and go to the window and stare at the stars. I had so many questions. How far away were those tiny points of light? Did space go on forever and ever? Or was there some end to space, some giant edge? If so, what lay beyond the edge? Another of my childhood questions, did time go on forever? I looked at pictures of my parents and my grandparents and tried to imagine their parents and so on, back through the generations, back and back through time. Looking out of my bedroom window into the vastness of space, time seemed to stretch forward and backward without end, engulfing me, engulfing my parents and great-grandparents, engulfing the entire history of the earth. Does time go on forever? Or is there some beginning of time? If so, what came before? When I grew up, I became a professional astrophysicist, as one does. Although I never answered any of those questions, they continued to challenge me, to haunt me, and to drive me in my scientific research, to cause me to live on tuna fish and no sleep for days at a time, while I was obsessed with the science problem. These same questions and questions like them challenge and haunt the leading scientists of today. Einstein once wrote, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science." What did Einstein mean by the mysterious? I don't think he meant that science is full of unpredictable or unknowable or supernatural forces. I think he meant a sense of awe, a sense that there are things larger than us, that we don't have all the answers at the moment. A sense that we can stand right at the boundary between the known and the unknown and gaze into that cavern and be exhilarated rather than frightened. Scientists are happy, of course, when they find answers to questions. But scientists are also happy when they become stuck, when they discover interesting questions that they can't answer. Because that is when their imaginations and creativity are set on fire. That is when the greatest progress occurs. One of the holy grails in physics is to find the so-called theory of everything. The final theory that will encompass all the fundamental laws of nature. I, for one, hope that we never find that final theory. I hope that there are always things that we don't know, about the physical world as well as about ourselves. I believe in the creative power of the unknown. I believe in the exhilaration of standing at the boundary between the known and the unknown. I believe in the unanswered questions of children. The unanswered questions of children. This is one of those ones that I say amen to at the end. Amen. I believe in those unanswered questions of faith as well. There is more to our faith. There is more to God than we can ever comprehend. Just because God is knowable and relatable, intentionally so, does not mean we know the limits of what God is or what God has created. Alan Lightman is an astrophysicist and novelist teaching at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He is the author of Einstein's Dreams and A Sense of the Mysterious, Science and the Human Spirit. Lightman and his wife Jean started the Harpwell Foundation to help disadvantaged students in Cambodia obtain an education. So, a philanthropist as well. Yeah, good stuff. It reminded me a lot, I thought last night, of the short story by Arthur C. Clarke that's entitled The 9 Billion Names of God. I believe it's a number. It's a large number, and I believe 9 billion is the name. If you haven't read that, it is it's a great short story. I think it was written in the 50s or 60s. I read it as a child, and the premise is very simple and very relatable today. In fact, it was, as with much of Arthur C. Clarke's work, it was very predictive. It's very simple. Short story is that there is a sect of faith that believes that there are 9 billion names for God, and that if all of those names are known, then time will end. That is the condition. If we know, symbolically, of course, they're saying if we can know all that God is, and to relate to this essay, if we know all the mysteries, right? So then that's it. There'll be nothing left to learn, and we will attain oneness with God. Well, this sect has been alive for centuries and even millennia, chronicling these names of God, writing them down one at a time. And a reporter, the story is told from the point of view of a reporter who goes to visit the monastery because they have just purchased a computer that will calculate these 9 billion names of God far faster than their hands could, their minds could, and can finish the task that they have been dedicated to for centuries. And the story doesn't really go into the ethics of that, as I recall. It's been many years since I've read it. Simply that this makes it easier, right? And the reporter hears the philosophy, hears the story, and as he's leaving the monastery, he imagines the computer finishing its task, the monks looking at the finished work, and realizing that everything that they had been doing was for nothing, and nothing happens. But then his companion points overhead, and they look up and see the sky, and the stars are blinking out one by one. That's the end of the story. So, sorry, spoiler alert for those of you that haven't read it, but it's a great little story. And it, again, what happens if we know everything, if we find that final theory that he was talking about in his essay, what would be the point? We strive to know, and yet it brings me comfort, at least, that there are things that I do not know this side of eternity. All right. Thanks for being here, folks. I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. Well, I'll see a lot of you tomorrow at the food distribution. That'll be great. See you there. My chat function wasn't working this morning, so for those that chimed in and that you're watching, good morning to you. Glad to have you here. Thanks for being here and sharing and all of that. So I'll see you at the food distribution tomorrow and also at church, of course, on Sunday as we continue our series on the short stories of Jesus. And then I'll be back on Tuesday next week for another morning watch. So I'll see you then. Take care. May you find peace and purpose in this day. Talk to you soon.